This is camera audio. This is the shotgun mic on the camera. And this is the DIY Microboom.
This is quickly becoming my new favorite video gadget. It's a DIY Microboom. But before we get started, like this video, hit the subscribe button, and consider joining the channel. Channel members get exclusive access to Filmmaker Alchemy, behind-the-scenes lessons and insights on the business of video production. Learn how to turn your content into gold. The Zacuto Microboom, which you've probably seen considering they were advertising all across social media, is a lightweight micro boom pole that you can attach right to your camera, and it basically gives you that closer access for the microphone. First rule of good audio is get your microphone as close to your subject as possible.
A wide lens in your camera is going to allow you to get even closer with your microphone.
But unfortunately, even though Zacuto was advertising this thing like crazy, when I went to order it, it was sitting on back order forever. I think I waited 6 months and it still never shipped. I believe they are shipping now, but considering I had ordered it, it was sitting there on back order for so long, I tried to come up with my own solution, which I ended up doing for around like $10 in the cheapest version. This one is a little bit more expensive, more around 50 or 55 when you consider all the parts and pieces, but you could make a cheaper version if you like. And it all relies on this telescoping pointer. Yes, the classic business pointer. When I was thinking of how do I make my own Microboom, I remembered back growing up, my dad, who worked a corporate job, always had these fun pointers that were like pen shaped. It was like a pen pointer that would extend and kind of telescope out. And I thought that would be the perfect thing because it's super lightweight, it's fairly rigid, and it can collapse down and extend to whatever length I need. And I looked online, and sure enough, they still make the traditional pointer for any kind of presentation. So that's what the kind of core technology, if you will, is just a pointer. And I'll put a link to all these pieces in the description so you can kind of build one out if you want. Again, you don't need all the parts like I've got it, but this is what worked best for me. So I'll link all of them in the description and you can buy them. Almost everything is very cheap, very affordable, especially compared to the Zacuto Microboom, which is like $150. All said and done, this will be like $50 and you may already have some of these pieces. So I started with the pointer as my base, and it comes with a little tip, like a little rubbery tip that like pops out. So I was figuring out like, okay, I'll deal with the microphone end later, but how do I get this attached to my camera? And it just turns out that this pointer specifically is about the exact same size as 15mm rods. We lucked out on this one. So I got a 15mm rod adapter that has the ARRI rosette on one side. And on the other side, I have the ARRI rosette connected to a NATO clamp. So basically on the side of my camera, I have a NATO rail and I use the NATO clamp to clip on there. And then I have this rosette, which is very critical. You could do it another way. You could do any other kind of clamp, but I wanted the rosette because I wanted the ability to kind of articulate up and down to just clear my frame. Because lenses have a cone of vision, you can strategically angle your Microboom so it's exactly out of frame.
This is perfect for capturing that gnat sound right in camera.
If you think about a lens and its field of vision, it's kind of like a cone. It extends in every direction. A lot of times we think of it horizontally, like left to right, but it is also true for vertical up and down. So if you find with whatever lens you're using, and trust me, this works with even the widest focal lengths, which is what you would want for this. Instead of putting a microphone on your subject, doing the lav mic, clipping something on, a lot of times if it's run and gun, if it's man on the street, if it's documentary, if it's reality, a lot of times you just want to point your camera at your subject and get clear sound. Now that can work with just a typical shotgun microphone right on the camera, but oftentimes that's a little bit too far away. The best sound quality is when the microphone is right at your subject. So even if you're about 5 feet away from your subject, if you can get that microphone closer to them, it's going to sound better. You can do this with wireless microphones. You can do it with wired microphones. The only consideration here in this setup is that the microphone itself needs to be lightweight as well. You don't want a really heavy shotgun microphone on the end of this weighing it down. But thankfully, with technology, all of our microphones nowadays are pretty lightweight. I've put a lav microphone on the end of this with a wire, just your typical lav mic that we've been using for decades at this point. Just a lav at the end, wire down, plugged into the camera. That works great. I came up with this hot shoe design that we're going to get to in a second, because that's kind of the secret of this setup. But anyway, I wanted a way to match that field of view, that cone of vision for my camera. So the rosette mount really lets me do that. I can dial in exactly my vertical, and even at a 16 millimeter focal length on full frame, this still clears. You won't see it. It basically just extends right above that field of vision, that line of sight. So it's not in my frame, but now all of a sudden my microphone is way closer to my subject, and I can get up close with my camera and get great sound, even just, without having to do all the extra steps of putting a microphone on the person. So the clamps down here, you could find another way to do it, but I really like this setup. It's super lightweight, super simple. It's even hard to show because it is so small, and just, it just works perfectly. I'm really proud of how this all came together. It was half thinking through it and designing it, and half just luck that it happened to work. Speaking of which, let's get to the other end. So by default, this end is kind of empty with that pointer that, if you buy a pointer, it's got the little rubber stopper on the end. I just ripped that out, and I figured, well, I can clip a microphone on the end. I can do something to kind of figure out that. But there's this recessed hole here, and unfortunately, it's not 3/8 size, but it's also not 1/4-20. It's somewhere in between. And I was thinking, man, there's got to be something that I could put in there to let me get a 1/4-20. And that's where I found these. They're actually meant for concrete work for some reason, but they're a 1/4-20. Again, I'll put a link to them in the description to Amazon so you can actually find them. But it just so happens that this is the exact right size to nest right in here. And it kind of has a little bit of a grippy rigidity, like it's got a texture pattern on the side of those adapter screws. And it just sits in there nicely. I could secure this even further by gluing it or something like that. But for these purposes, I wanted to show you that you can remove it if you need to, but you kind of pull firmly on it. And really, unless you're tugging on it, it's not going to go anywhere. It kind of clips right in there just through tension and pressure, and it stays right in place. And once you have a 1/4-20 on the end, it's really easy to adapt to whatever you want. So if you had a 1/4-20, a microphone or something like that, could go right on there. But I took it a step further and put a cold shoe on the end. So now I can slot in any kind of microphone that has a cold shoe adapter, which almost all of them do. The DJI mics are wireless, and so those have the cold shoe clip right on there. That slides right in there. You could also do a small kind of the miniature shotgun microphones that they make nowadays that are also cold shoe based. Really, just whatever isn't too terribly heavy can go at the end. And if you want to run it wired or wireless, either way works. But as long as you can extend it and it's not going to be super heavy, anything will work down there. So cold shoe on the end, threaded into that concrete 1/4-20 adapter, whatever that is, into the pointer, and then attached to your rig however you want. It's super simple, very lightweight. I don't even notice the additional weight on my rig when I'm holding it. And I can, again, get those great, quick moments. What are you working on?
Right now we're working on transforming this garage into a studio. Right now we're trying to work on the sound baffling. Right now there's a lot of echo going on. So hopefully we can put down enough carpet to make it sound better. Oh yeah, this will work.
What's your favorite part of production?
Craft services. Why is that the first thing that came to my mind?
Have you been on camera before?
Yes, but not randomly while I'm trying to do other work. Usually it's intentional.
I found out there's a even better monitor. This is my Shinobi, but if you've ever heard of the Hollyland, what is that? What is that monitor? The Mars M1 Enhanced Monitor. It is a beautiful monitor. It allows for transmission and receiving of wireless HDMI. All right, next step is getting exposure and proper white balance. The microphone right here is in the shot just for your reference. Proper exposure and great color.
The great thing about this Microboom is that you can use it wired or wireless. And I also have a Comica VM10 shotgun microphone right on the camera like you would probably traditionally see. Let's also talk about natural sound effects. How often are we filming something and you want that audio to come through crystal clear? Someone typing on a keyboard or cutting with scissors or whatever it might be, those natural sound effects that I love to capture, and I'm sure you want to capture too. Often, if you're recording just camera scratch audio, it's there, but it doesn't sound great. You can do the shotgun microphone on your camera. Again, it's a further distance away from your subject, so it's going to sound a little roomier. It's going to sound a little bit less good, which is why a lot of people want to go download sound effects and go through all the steps of layering them in, doing the sound design, and all this tedious extra work just to make a keyboard clack or make scissors cut. This is such a great way to solve that problem. Super cheap, really easy. You get those sound bites. You also get the sound effects because when your microphone is right close to whatever you're filming, let's say it's someone typing on a keyboard, you have that sound right there, right next to it, the real thing, perfectly in sync. There's no sound design to do later. You just have it in camera, which is so perfect. So like I said, this is quickly becoming one of my favorite tools to use. It's basically just a part of my kit now. Now that I figured out all the right pieces to add, it was really that cold shoe at the end was really giving me trouble, like what was gonna work. And it just so happened that those 1/4-20 adapters were the exact right size that I needed. I'll probably will take it one step further and secure that in with some kind of glue or cement. I gotta figure that step out. But at this point in time, it's such a cheap, no-brainer, simple setup. Anyone can make this, anyone can build it. It's 1/3 of the price of the Zacuto Microboom, which I've heard good things about, but other people, you know, they also have issues with the wire they use. You can go read the Amazon reviews. This is a really simple way to build it yourself, and all it requires is this pointer actually comes in a 2-pack, and I think it was like $6 or $7 for both of them. So you're starting just per pointer, very, very cheap, very economical. The most expensive part is the RE rosette pieces because they're film tools. They end up being more expensive, but everything else, the cold shoe, these concrete screw adapters, very cheap, very easy to get. All of it easily available on Amazon, and you can build yourself your very own do-it-yourself Microboom. Or you can buy the Zacuto one, you know, if that's a little bit easier just to have. But even this doesn't look too janky. I kind of like how it looks. It doesn't look like I just hacked like a tape measure or something, you know, not suited for film. Like you can't really tell what this is, but once you see it in action, you immediately understand the value of getting that microphone as close to your subject as possible, whether it's for sound effects, sound bites. Either way, it's a useful tool, and it shortcuts the whole process from doing sound design. You don't have to do as much of that if you're getting the sound effects right in camera. And it also saves you the hassle of putting a microphone on someone when you may only need them for like 2 minutes. There's plenty of times where you just want a quick sound bite from some random person, and it's kind of hard to mic people up. They're uncomfortable, they get awkward. Where do you stick it? Where do you hide it? Do you not hide it? You clip it on the shirt. This solves all those problems and more. And it's a really easy thing to add to your kit because it's not taking away from anything. You can do all the traditional normal things, miking up people, etc. But now you have this extra. The way I do it is I have my main subject mic'd up with my left channel. And then on my right channel, I can run those DJI mics in a wireless fashion. So you see that pulled out right there. So I do need to secure that. But you know, I can extend this out, run that DJI mic on my right channel, and I have both. I have my subject speaking, but I'm also getting extra sound bites from other people, or I have sound effects that I'm capturing just right in camera. It's such an easy, simple rig, takes up about the space of those shotgun mics anyway, but just gets it that much closer to the subject. And those feet, those yards, those inches do matter. You might think, well, you know, I get good enough sound with the microphone just mounted right on the camera. It will be good enough, it'll be fine, but this is better. Trust me, it sounds that much better when the microphone is just, you know, a few feet closer. It makes all the difference. The closer you can get the microphone, the better it's gonna sound. So if all it takes is just this extending telescoping pole, again, it doesn't look super weird. It just looks like a boom pole, like a micro boom pole, which is what it is. So if it's something you're interested in, you know, solving that problem, because the moment I saw the Zacuto ads, I was like, yes, I need a micro boom pole. I don't want, you know, necessarily not all the time, I don't want a sound person there with the full boom. I just need that microphone a little bit closer. I'd love something like the Zacuto micro boom. I ordered it and sitting there waiting, you know, on back order, on pre-order, on out of stock, whatever, for months on months on months. I'm like, shoot, there's got to be a better way. So all it took was a little thinking, a little shopping on Amazon, and came up with this. And I really, really like it.